go ati amera hopa. Ti au he inequality. Ti au he inequality. Ame danyo pek yo ma ti au he inequality. Hekek ya it's on cook it needs something. Na go re hansh gat no go re to nice mishko the American. I am a spirit on the mission of love, and I have successfully bridged the gap in inequalities in education. Now, what is inequality is what I was asking in my indigenous language, which is Keres. And certain words, they don't really match up. So while a student in higher education and through all the ranks are sitting there reading, history is so written in its own pace, in its own tone. And the heartbeat from the children is what unifies this thirst to learn. It's like, I don't want to give up. And I think that is where the first fallacy is, which is in the Native American culture, there is no such thing as failure for a child. We don't wake up and say, oh, no, you failed the getting water and pottery concept. Go back. No, you don't. What actually happens is it's just trial and error. And so what happens with trial and error is you make a 2-year school into a 10-year program. Well, as many times as it takes is as many times as that person has to keep trying. And it is a relationship of the teacher and the student that must be adamant. The relationship between the student and the teacher becomes a ceremony. Culture. Culture comes from the word agriculture, which means to plant the seed. Now, as a Pueblo, when my ancestors decided that they were going to forage another way, that was wisdom. They've already had this intuitive knowledge of being and becoming contemporary and traditional. They were already faced in it. So when you plant the seed of hope in a child, you never know when it's going to sprout. It could sprout sooner than others, which is what, when you look at the data, that says, right on time student, Or it might be the adverse part of that, which is a contradiction to this non-Western type of student versus the American Indian concept of collective wisdom. See, this whole time, we've been instituting terms to bridge this infamous gap. But all the while, we should be looking for role models. Assalamu alaikum, ismi amito, min Mandina Santo Domingo, Kefalhal. Arabic came to me pretty challenging, but it wasn't as challenging if I didn't have my language, which is why it's very important for bicultural enculturation for students as well as the teachers to have this knowledge. Because the human soul, as I've established, has this heartbeat that just wants to just dance on a unified pace. Collectively, we all want to feel good. And so the education that we're striving for at this current day and age is the feel good, which brings me to an affirmation. We are all spirits on the mission of love. And the educational system has enough. We are enough. There's an abundance of love and happiness and prosperity in the educational system of American Indian knowledge as well as non-Western. We just need to be able to amend them. Terms like holistic, boarding schools, colonialism. These are actually hot topics when it comes to the higher learning of Native American studies. Now, one of the objectives is to install leadership. Leadership, that's a really interesting concept, leadership. That means a leader would still be a leader no matter how many times they failed. So the educational system has this pattern of repetition of failure in terms to the Native American. However, we have not abandoned the fact that there is a relationship that we desire to create a rebuilt nation, an indigenous nation. Now, that brings in the nomenclature of Native Americans. American Indians is a complex term. Native Americans is a complex term. Self-identified, non-native, these are complex terms. The point is that indigenous is now substituting this. So there is some truth in the terms that we're using in terms of indigenous knowledge. And so when it comes to a call to action, words, they hurt more than a fist. if you tell a student, no matter what age or what category, that you cannot do it, then you're actually preventing them from a simple task in life that actually acclaims them. So many times from my perspective, when I walk into an advisor's office and they're looking at me, they're like, okay, well, here comes a Native American, here comes a Native American male. They're looking at it in terms of senses, how they're going to fill this box out. But you know what? I've already filled my soul. I filled my soul just by wanting to come to school. And so on behalf of all the Native Americans who are in school, past, present, and future, I encourage you to keep going forward. And to the youth, open a door to a school and close a door to a prison. Thank you.